Hey guys, what's going on? Well, if you ever run into a vehicle that you bought or you already owned, or whatever the case may be, that you knew that its thinking was that it was retired and it was never going to drive again. And I know cars and trucks and other vehicles can't think, but if they could, you ever wonder that that's what they think? It's like, take this car. This is a case in point. This car is a 06 Fusion. You've seen this several times. This is a car that I just fixed the transmission on, and this car is, since I fixed the transmission, which was difficult also, but this car's thrown up several little roadblocks to going back on the road and just being used every day reliably. Now it's not going to stop me, but you know, it just little stuff. So you can tell that its idea is that, you know, it says that I've driven for 10 years, 11 years, and 100,000 miles, and I'm done. I'm going to retire now. I get to retire and live a life of leisure being parked. And that's probably what it thought, you know, because it was parked for a year or so and not driven once this transmission issue got bad enough that the gas pusher that owned it couldn't deal with it anymore. So, you know, I've ripped it from its resting place and have worked on it and got it brought back up to snuff. And so let me just kind of detail to you what's been going on. Well, nothing major, but I fixed the transmission. See, it didn't expect that. It thought, well, that's it, nobody will fix me, now I get to just hang out. Well, I did that. I fixed it. Seems to be working great. And then I noticed that both axle boots are broken and leaking grease out, so I need axles. And then, you know, well, not to mention I had to go back in and fix the transmission again. And then when I filled the transmission up this last time, I did another drain and fill on it. I overfilled it and I had to go under there and take all the stuff off the bottom, the protector cladding, whatever you want, the shields under it off, and drain some of it out. And then what else was going on? Oh yeah, I was going to go change the oil in it, and it's got this silly cartridge oil filter on it, which has got a equally silly cartridge cap on it right there. And that thing, it's no big deal to it. You just take it off and let the oil come out, and take the filter insert out and replace the O-ring, put it back together, and that's it. Well, that would be it if it wasn't for the fact that that's a 74 millimeter 14 flute, which means a flute is one of these little sides right here, 14 flute cap. Now you tell me how many of these cars you see on the road everywhere with this engine in it, but you can't go to the parts store and get one of those. They have one that is a piece of trash, which is what they call a 74/7615 flute. Does not work. It's unusable. It's total garbage. So that was another roadblock. So I had to end up ordering this thing off eBay to get the proper wrench to fit the oil filter cap. Now, is that not silly as hell? So that's another thing. I thought, well, I'll get you there. Okay, well, I called its bluff, and I got the oil filter wrench ready to go. So I get under here, and I go to take the oil drain plug off, which you can't see because it faces the rear back there. But it's a 13 millimeter, and so I put a wrench on it, and I take my mallet, and I start tapping it loose. Well, it's not coming loose. It knocks the wrench off of it and mars at the head of the bolt. So I had to take my little 13 socket and tap it on there with a hammer, and then I tried this didn't work. So I had to end up getting my long, let's say, I think I put it back, but my long breaker bar under there, and popped it loose finally. So that was another roadblock. See, it's all this little stuff. It said, no, I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive. You're forcing me to do something I don't want to do. So the next thing, if that wasn't enough, and this is not in chronological order, but you saw the thermostat replacement video that I made on this car, and I mentioned that I was going to have to replace the tensioner and the idler pulley. The idler is just a pulley that bolts onto the block, and the tensioner is an assembly which is spring loaded. Well, I thought I was going to get out cheap and just put the pulley on the tensioner, but I did all that, and it's still squeaking when it's cold. So now evidently the tensioner is no good. The factory one is worn out, no good. So I've got to go back and get another brand new tensioner for it and put the whole entire tensioner on this time. So it's just one little thing after another. You know, I got that car together, and that car is driven just perfectly from the day one that I first started driving it, with nothing going on with it. I've put 3,200 miles on that car, about 3,200 miles on it. No issues, runs fine, no other roadblocks. But this one just didn't want to live. It's like that Final Destination movie, you know, when those series of movies, when they change the course of what's supposed to happen, and then they have to keep from something bad happening. Well, that's what this car kind of is. It's like, well, I don't want to live. I don't want to come out of retirement, so I'm just going to keep throwing shit at you until you give up. Well, I'm not giving up. I'm not about to give up, because next week I'm going to start. I already started running vacation routes partially, but I'm going to start running them full time again. That's this time of year I do this. So that means I'm going to be driving a lot, and I'm going to put this car into immediate hard service, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if I drive back and forth to work every day with no issues, or if I come home on a wrecker, which has happened before. We'll see. But your retirement date has been postponed, car, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we'll give you an update on this down the road somewhere. See you guys. Thanks for watching.